Manon Fielding with Balancing Hormones, Empowering Lives, and welcome to our show today. I want to ask you if you're a woman who's suffering from symptoms that may be a little bit unusual, not only the normal hot flashes, night sweats, but maybe numbness and tingling in your fingers, achiness in your back, or other symptoms that nobody seems to know what they're from. That is often because you are having some deficiencies. And today we're going to be talking about the 8 essential vitamins and micronutrients that every menopausal woman needs to know because they're very common in menopause and can be cause of your symptoms. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that we have a menopause longevity coaching program that actually helps put all this together for you. Everything is customized. We determine what nutrients you need. We do testing to balance your hormones, and we do a comprehensive evaluation and have a life coaching program associated with it to help you with lifestyle modifications, dealing with relationships, and all kinds of midlife transition. And we put it all together for you. So if you're interested in that, it's in the description. Also, I put in the description that you can download all of this information about deficiencies, so you don't have to memorize in the video. I put it all on a sheet for you. All right, let's get started. So nutrient deficiencies are at an all-time high, as you see in this graph. And at the top, you see that you have vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium, calcium, vitamin A and C, and all the ones down on that list. We're not going to go over all of them, just the ones that I think are most important for menopause. But the percent of population that's deficient in those vitamins, you can see vitamin D, it's at the top of the list. It's at an all-time high. And then you have vitamin E and magnesium, calcium, vitamin A are all very prevalent in our society. So the chances of you being deficient in those are very high. So let's take a look at those individually and see what we can do about it. So why does this happen in menopause specifically? So we do know, yes, that hormonal changes do make a difference, and that for a variety of reasons. And when we're in a depressed mood or we're anxious, sometimes changes our diet. We eat more or less, or we eat the wrong foods. We also have a lot of increase in absorption issues due to GI problems. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more also. And when the estrogen goes down and progesterone, we have an increased need for certain nutrients. And if we're not fulfilling that, we become deficient. Then you have medications like antacids that actually deplete our ability to absorb a lot of nutrients, which I'm going to explain as we go through here. And lifestyle factors, for instance, if you're not exercising, then you may not be absorbing enough, and other lifestyle factors like sleep, you're not getting enough sleep, may increase your need for certain nutrients, and not getting enough sun exposure. Of course, that's very connected to vitamin D. So is this you standing in the aisle with all the vitamins and nutrition, or in your cabinet, and half of them go unused? You buy all these different things because and then you find after a week or two they're not working for you. It's so confusing, and we don't know what to take. So it's really important to understand which ones are most important for you and how you can get them from food, and which ones that you may need to supplement. All right, let's take a look at that. All right, so let's start with B deficiencies. And B6 and B12 are both very common in menopause and as we age. And they have some similarities in terms of the symptoms, but they are different. They both come mostly from animal products, dairy and meat, fish, chicken. So if you don't eat those, then you probably do need to supplement. And B6 and B12 both can be associated with fatigue, pallor, meaning loss of color, and B12 specifically more can shortness of breath. And they both can have numbness and tingling in the hands and feet, but more likely B12, and balance issues like difficulty walking up and down curbs or on a hill or at the beach. that you notice that you're having a little more difficulty balancing in those settings. But both of them can have some confusion issues, but B12 more with memory loss and cognitive difficulties, which is very common in menopause, and B6 very much associated with depression and confusion, but depression is something that a lot of you notice. Skin rashes and cracks around the mouth, that's actually very common. Also, that if you have gastrointestinal problems like celiac disease or Crohn's disease, you're going to probably have malabsorption of B6 and B12, among other things. So they now make a supplement that contains a liquid that has B6 and B12 that's very well absorbed, and it doesn't hurt to take them both together. Or if you know that you're B12 deficient, I definitely recommend either a liquid or a sublingual to get better absorption. All right, so those are the Bs. So how do you know if you're deficient? Well, one of the things is that you're going to have an increased susceptibility to severe respiratory infections. And things like pneumonia and COVID are going to be higher in people who are deficient in getting enough vitamin C. And also in age-induced impairment of your entire immune function. Your low vitamin C status increases your all-cause mortality. So if you're low in vitamin C, you're just making yourself much more susceptible to anything that comes into your environment. And so I recommend eating more vitamin C fruits and veggies, and take a vitamin C supplement rather than drinking too much orange juice, because when you drink a lot of juices, it's a high sugar content, and that actually is contradictory to good health and to our immune system. All right. So one of the most important vitamins in menopause is vitamin D, and you're going to see why. Because it just does so many different things in our body. It's kind of mind-blowing. And many holistic-minded doctors actually look at your levels of vitamin D as to be able to predict how healthy you are and what your well-being is. So the levels that we look for, I would like it to be somewhere between 60 and 80, but if you're at least between 40 and 60, that prevents a lot of issues with your immune system, helps prevent against breast cancer and other cancers, the higher it is. So you don't want it to be over 100, but closer to 80 is really the most protective of us, of our system, because it does so many things and we want it to be there and available to us on a daily basis. So this is a list of all the functions. You have a hormone precursor. So obviously if you don't have enough during menopause, you're not going to be able to make your hormones. It helps your immune system. It reduces inflammation. It prevents cancer, an 83% reduction of breast cancer when your levels are over 60 nanograms per deciliter. It helps prevent bone osteopenia and osteoporosis. So it's really critical for us when our estrogen levels go down to have enough vitamin D. It helps the heart, our heart health, supports our emotional well-being. It helps prevent diabetes and prevent depression. So along with these other vitamins that we're talking about, it really supports our overall wellness. You see how important that is. Oh, and let me just mention too, because if you're not out in the sun and you're not able to change vitamin D from the precursors that we get from the sunlight, then you need to supplement. And the 400 IU, that is RDA, is probably not enough. I personally started taking 5,000 because mine was really low when I hit menopause and I got tested, and it just now is hitting up towards the 100 mark, and I had to slow down the amount of vitamin D that I was taking. So now I only take it 2 or 3 times a week. But you need to really, you can take anywhere from 2 to 5,000 without really hurting yourself and going over the limit. But the best thing to do is get tested. Okay, vitamin E helps us with our skin health and oxidative stress. When you think of oxidative stress, think of cancer and aging, that both of those things that we want to prevent. And if you do supplement, you want to look for alpha tocopherol. You see that little symbol on here is the indicator that that is the correct form that you're going to be able to absorb and utilize in your body. It helps prevent lung cancer, upper respiratory infections, and the flu. So also, if you find yourself prone to these things, you probably are lacking vitamin E, as well as the vitamin C and other vitamins that we talked about for your immune system. And it isn't as hard to get enough vitamin E as some other, because it is stored in the body in our fat cells. And if you take 400, that should be enough, but if you tend to get more infections, I would up it to 800 IU, okay? So these are some of the signs that you may be deficient in vitamin E. You have low energy, so you see how energy levels are so affected by vitamins, not just the kind of food we're eating. Muscle weakness, you might feel a loss of balance and coordination, like we talked about for some of the others. Dry skin is a really important sign. Hair loss, very strongly connected to vitamin E deficiency and stress that affects the scalp and hair follicles. An increased frequency of infection, also weakened immune system, and also changes in our vision, that you need more light to see clearly because of early damage to your retina from not having enough vitamin E. And when you're thinking of foods, the nuts, the seeds, and your leafy greens are good sources of vitamin E. Okay, another important nutrient that's not a vitamin, but it's still part of our nutritional needs, is omega-3 fatty acids. And we tend to be more deficient of it if you eat other saturated fats, because it's the kind of healthy fat that we really need, the monounsaturated and the omega-3s. If you didn't see the video on the carbohydrate, fat, and protein, that would be a good one to watch. But think anti-inflammatory and healthy heart when you think of omega-3. And you're going to get enough with flaxseed, which is really good because it's also estrogenic and it has the omega-3. Salmon, walnuts, chia seeds are all good sources of that. And it also helps with mood swings and depression. So it's another one of the fatty acid, like the vitamin E and vitamin D, that help with mood, and B vitamins. So all of these are essential for the way our body and brain work. Now, if you note that you have eczema, dermatitis, and dry skin, that's a good indicator that you don't have enough omega-3s. Joint pain, inflammation, and stiffness, if they start to increase, that may be an example. Like we talked about, the depression, mood swings, cognitive issues, and also vision with dry eyes. It's such a common problem, and it is very connected to these omega-3 fatty acids. So let's not forget about calcium, extremely important. And calcium is vital for our bones, and it also decreases with age as we are not able to absorb it as much, so we actually need more. 1,200 milligrams of calcium per day is what's recommended. Dairy products, leafy greens, and fortified sources are good ways of getting it. If you're not getting 1,200 milligrams per day from your food, then I suggest the calcium citrate. It's like really the easiest one to absorb when you're in menopause, when we don't have as good stomach acid and digestive ability. Vitamin D is going to help you absorb the calcium, so that's another important factor for vitamin D and calcium. And it also helps to spread it throughout the day. So instead of taking all your calcium in the morning, maybe take it in 2 or 3 doses. I always forget the third one, but taking 2 shouldn't be too hard, because you could even take that one at night. It's not going to affect your sleep. In fact, it probably will help with sleep. So split them into 600 if you're going to supplement. So how would you know if you're deficient in calcium? Well, you could be diagnosed with osteopenia, and I recommend that anyone hitting around 50 needs to have a bone density test, so you can check the status of your bones and know if you need to beef up these nutrients. Numbness or tingling, especially in your fingers. maybe muscle cramps and spasms. You know, a lot of times they think it's magnesium, which is also really important for that, but it could also be calcium. And dental problems. If you have weak or brittle teeth, or you tend to get a lot of cavities, that could be a calcium deficiency. Iron is another one that is affected your energy levels, and it's really important. A lot of women are diagnosed as being deficient in iron, but it's important not to take any supplements with iron in it unless you know that you're low, because it actually can cause other serious deficiencies, because if you take too much iron, it causes depletion of other nutrients. So the things that you would notice is you could have pallor, like we were talking about earlier with the other vitamins. Shortness of breath can be a sign. Weakness, a general lack of energy and strength. You might have cold in your hands and feet, indicating poor circulation from not having enough iron. And headaches and dizziness is also another sign, because there's not enough oxygen transport. So you can get enough from lentils, spinach, meat, or you might have to supplement, like I said, if you are diagnosed as being low. Okay, let's talk about magnesium, our last one. This mineral is a bit of an unsung hero during menopause because it helps with over 300 biochemical reactions in our body. It does affect our muscle and nerve function. It helps with blood sugar control, and it helps with bone health. And its sleep and mood regulation are really important to us during menopause. So the magnesium you can find in nuts and seeds and leafy greens and whole grains are kind of your best sources. And you might not get enough, so this is one that I do recommend that you can take supplement for. Some of the deficiency signs that you would notice is muscle cramps and spasms. That's really common, especially in your legs. Fatigue and weakness, kind of a general tiredness and lack of energy. If it gets really severe, you could actually develop some nausea and vomiting from it, and general gastrointestinal issues, and changes in your mood. Feel very anxious, depressed, irritable, not having enough magnesium. There are different types of magnesium, and I didn't go into this in great detail, but I take a supplement that has 3 different, and I know that that helps with sleep. But you might want to experiment and take one that has a number of them in it. Now, there's types of magnesium like citrate that is specifically for constipation, and that's not the one you want to take for a general magnesium. So that is something that if you have a question about, please leave that in the comments. So we talked a little bit earlier about the deficiencies, and I just want to revamp that as we close today. Is that one of the reasons we're so deficient is that we eat too much processed junk foods, and it causes us to deplete the nutrients in our body, especially excess sugar causes free radicals, and then it uses up our antioxidants. So it also directly interferes with vitamin C absorption. Then you have the acid reducing drugs that people take for GI tract problems. If you take them for too long, you can reduce your ability to absorb B12, vitamin C, calcium, iron, magnesium, and protein. So you can see how serious that can be. They're really designed to only be used short term. If you have problems with your digestion, there are other ways of handling it, and I would love to talk to you about it. You could leave a comment. Anyway, try to reduce the use of those acid reducing drugs so that you don't end up depleted. So I hope I fulfilled the purpose of this video, which is to help educate you as to the nature of your symptoms and giving you more empowerment to control and eliminate your symptoms through diet and lifestyle and supplementation. And most importantly, understand that menopause is not a medical condition, that you don't have to memorize all this information. You just need to understand that we do have far more control over our bodies and minds than we know. And we need to address the true cause of the problem, or it just gets buried and it comes out over time in sickness and ill health and joint problems as we get older. So let's take our power back And I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to get my book, Your Holistic Roadmap to Menopause Wellness. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do that and like this video and comment if you have anything you need, any questions or any comments. I really appreciate you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.